Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, a show that examines all aspects of sexuality, from physical to emotional to spiritual. Join our hosts as they discuss age-old questions, common misconceptions, and the latest topics surrounding sex. They'll tackle topics about sexuality from the complicated to the hilarious and everything in between. GSMC Sex Podcast is your show for all of your questions about sex, even some you might not have thought of yet.
Thank you for listening to the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Gaelika Brown. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe to our show on your preferred podcast platform. And if you really like it, please write a review. Now, I am not a sex expert, but I do love me some Dr. Ruth, but clearly I am not Dr. Ruth. Probably not too much taller than her, though. However, I have spent some time on this earth, and I have experienced some things, and I've witnessed some things, and because I am an excellent listener, I have heard some things. I'm a student of human behavior, and I love to learn. I love to research topics and present what I have learned, which is what I do on this podcast. And of course, I'm going to give my 2 cents about the matter, but I will also include what experts have to say. Now, let's talk about sex. Now, I've been seeing posts and memes showcasing fans' excitement for season 3 of the Netflix series You. I've never seen the show. I was slightly curious after season 1 and hearing people talk about how they binged the show. But once I found out it was about a stalker, I was cool. I love suspense and thrillers. I mean, I fall asleep to Criminal Minds and crime documentaries. But there is something about stalking that just creeps me out. I can't get into watching someone watch someone. Makes me feel like the bigger creep. And creepers give me the heebie-jeebies. Now there are your non-consensual creepers and your voyeurers. As much as voyeurism and cuckolding, a term I recently discovered, creep me out, I'm curious to know more about the topic. Let's start with voyeurism. Now, Cosmopolitan magazine tells us everything we need to know about it. A voyeur is someone who experiences pleasure from watching other people partake in sexual acts. Maybe you've already decided this is absolutely not your thing, but one could argue that enjoyment of watching porn is in part voyeuristic, says McDevitt. Don't know who McDevitt is, but they keep mentioning McDevitt. And I guess that's a good point, but if you don't watch porn, or you stay away from porn, then, like myself, then there you go. But after all, most people masturbate when they watch other people have sex on screen. No? Question mark. So yeah, it's fairly common to be at least slightly interested in this sexual fetish. Okay. I mean, I can get that. I mean, you watch porn to get off and to get you hot. And yeah, so I guess that is kind of a voyeurism. So I'll stick with, I guess, I have partaketh in kind of voyeurism. But see, why is voyeurism a fetish? Ask yourself, why is anything a pleasure? We all experience different turn-ons and turn-offs in the bedroom, so it really depends on what someone likes and engages with. Here are 2 people who would consider voyeurism a fetish for them, explaining why they get turned on by watching others engage in sexual acts together or masturbate. Personally, I am really into voyeurism because it's a different way to experience sex. You're not in the sex, but you're seeing it, noticing what gives someone pleasure, seeing when someone moans the loudest and what position. It's exhilarating, says Michelle, 25. Now, I was personally shocked to see that the first quote was from a woman. I guess I typically associate voyeurism with men. Another quote, my girlfriend knows I'm watching her, which makes it super hot. It's like her way to show off, says Michael, 34. Now, what is he watching his girl do? Masturbate or have sex with another man? If it's sex with another man, that would be considered cuckolding, but we'll get more to that later. Now, what's the difference between the good kind of voyeurism and the bad kind of voyeurism? Put simply, consent. I use voyeurism as an example of a fetish that can be done in a fun and consensual way, or in a non-consenting and harmful way, says McDevitt. Voyeuristic disorder is actually in the Diagnostic Manual for Psychiatric Disorders, in which it is described as a persistent and intense sexual interest in spying on unsuspecting people nude or having sex. So in other words, make sure every sexual act you engage in with your partner has been consensually agreed upon and communicated beforehand. This goes for anything in the bedroom. Good voyeurism equals consent and communication about what you will be doing with every sexual partner. Bad voyeurism equals doing something behind your sexual partner's back. Okay, now for the fun part. There are so many different ways to spice up your sex life, especially with voyeurism. Here's what McDevitt recommends. Watch your partner masturbate. This could look like encouraging your partner to lay on the bed and do their thing while you watch from the crack of the door. Watch your partner shower or bathe. Bring in a person to watch your partner have sex with. So if you're intrigued, maybe give it a try. But again, for all the people in the back, consent is the key factor here. So yeah, consent is the key to everything. What's the difference between a man who has sex with a woman and a rapist? Consent. What's the difference between a voyeur and a stalker? Consent. Some artists have managed to turn voyeurism into art, but photographer, do not know how to pronounce this Japanese name, but Koei, Kohei, last name Yoshuki, Yoshiyuki. But this person's infamous images from the 1970s capture late-night trysts in Tokyo's public parks. The works have been described as perfectly capturing the loneliness, sadness, and desperation that so often accompanies sexual or human relationships in a big metropolitan city like Tokyo. So I viewed his work. I'm not an art critic, so I can't comment on the quality of his work, but I can say that it is interesting that so many people were out fucking in the woods like it was a free motel. I mean, I don't know if it was because it was the 70s or because that's how they do it in Tokyo or a combo of both. And I'm assuming he got consent, although some images don't include faces. But for those he caught in the act, did he snap the pics and then interrupt their sex session to have them sign a waiver? Or did he interrupt, have them sign the waiver, and then ask them to continue as if he wasn't there so he could take pictures? Things that make me go, Another thing that makes me go, cuckolding. We'll get into that when we return. Let's take a break.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Welcome back to the GSMC Sex Podcast. I'm your host, Gaelika Brown. So, what is cuckolding? Healthline.com explains, in basic terms, cuckolding is a fetish or kink in which a person gets turned on by their partner having sex with someone else. It's closely tied to BDSM with overlaps like domination, submission, and humiliation, minus the gear and spanking, a la 50 Shades. Historically, the term cuckold refers to a man who was unknowingly cheated on by his wife. Don't get too hung up on that, though. The modern day cuckold, who's not necessarily a cisgender or heterosexual male, is fully aware and heartily approves of their partner's affairs. And guess what? Men aren't the only ones into it. And FYI, the cuckoldress, or the person having the sex, isn't always a woman, and the third party, also known as the bull, isn't always a man. To be cucked or not to be cucked? That is the question. I added that myself. But this section is called To Be Cucked. Psychologists have suggested a number of reasons why someone may be turned on by their partner having sex with someone else. Biology. A biological urge referred to as sperm competition theory may play a role in the desire to be cucked. That's if the cuck is someone with a penis, of course. In these scenarios, some research suggests that watching your partner with another man prompts a biological response to have longer and more vigorous sex. This urge often results in the cuck ejaculating harder, having more sperm in their ejaculation, and having a shorter refractory period between erections, so they're ready to go at it again a lot sooner. Okay. Well, in that case, sounds like the woman may benefit from her man's sperm being jealous of another man's sperm if he can come even harder and get harder even faster. Okay. I guess I can see that benefit on the woman's side. Or if it's, I guess, all men, the men being the cuckoldress side, I guess, benefits that. Jealousy. Knowing someone else wants your partner can kick your desire into overdrive and make you want them more than a fresh from the oven Krispy Kreme. I don't know about that. Fresh from the oven Krispy Kreme is pretty bomb, even though I prefer them chilled. They're too soft and gooey and when they're fresh. I like them a little hard and crisp on the outside. Anyway, sexual jealousy can be intense, motivating, and pretty arousing. Some researchers think that jealousy is also a part of what fuels sperm competition and gets male ready to fight for the fertilization win. Okay, that sounds like a man problem. Y'all are crazy. Jealousy and competitions. A sperm competition, really? Comparison? Gosh, how do you say this? Comparison, I guess. That's compersion. So comparison is the flip side of jealousy. It's the happiness you feel seeing your partner happy. The word's often used by people in polyamorous relationships to describe the feeling they get seeing their partner courting someone else. I do remember saying that word before, which I don't really get. I'm not going to get joy over watching my man try to get with somebody else. Yeah, not going to happen. I'm going to get the complete opposite of joy. Pain. No sunshine, but rain. All right. In the world of cuckolding, the happy feels come from seeing your partner being sexually satisfied by another. But isn't that humiliating? I would think. Like, you can't do it, but they can. All right. Here's another reason. Humiliation aspect. Humiliation seems to play a leading role in cuckolding. It comes from the ridicule a person is likely to feel when their partner cheats on them. So how is this? Okay. For some, humiliation ramps up the erotic intensity of the act by a bazillion. It can come from watching their partner with someone else, or some extra humiliation thrown in for good measure, like being laughed at or belittled by their partner in the bowl. For others, humiliation doesn't even factor in, because while par for the course is real infidelity, cuckolding between consenting adults removes, or at very least dulls it. So if I'm feeling humiliated, that then is supposed to turn into me being aroused? I don't get it. So if I'm watching, let's say it's might be, let's say I'm watching my man fuck another woman. I'm feeling humiliated. How do I benefit from this? How does that turn me on? I'm not going to then want to try to outfuck that person. I'm going to want to then beat the shit out of my man. It's not going to turn into me sexual. I'm going to be so fucking hot and angry. I want a thin line between love and hate. Yo ass. I guess I'm just wired differently, but this is why I like exploring and researching these things, because a lot of things, some things just don't make sense to me, but I want to understand it. So that one, I need more clarification on how to understand the humiliation aspect. Like, I don't understand that part. The other ones I got. Okay. Submission aspect. The cuck is essentially submitting to someone else, taking over their role in the bedroom. The pleasure comes from giving up that power of sexually pleasing your partner over to someone else. I mean, I get that more so than the humiliation, but not really. Like, you know what? I'm going to tap out, tap you in, go ahead, hit that. And then you feel good about that? I don't know. Maybe if these were like strangers to you, but someone you're in a relationship with, The taboo factor. It's no secret that culture idolizes monogamy. So even though cuckolding is a common fantasy, it's still considered taboo to share your partner with another. Yeah. And who doesn't like to be naughty and break the rules once in a while? I'll break the rules other ways. To have a partner who enjoys being cucked, you might wonder what's in it for you if you're with someone who likes being cucked. It turns out there's plenty of pleasure to be had. Okay. So the cuck person is the one being watched, or the one watching, right? I gotta break down. Should have broke down what those exact roles are. Physical pleasure. So not only is there the obvious physical pleasure that you get from engaging in sexual acts with the bull, but the sex gets better between you and your partner too. I guess they did say. So the bull is the third person you bring in to fuck your person. The cuckoldress is the one being fucked by the bull. And so the cuck is the one watching. So yeah, if I'm with someone who likes to watch, how does that benefit me? I'm sorry, I'm now like trying to process what. Yeah. So, and that's what it's trying to say. What is the benefit from me as a cuckoldress by my man being the cuck who likes to watch? And I guess that benefit is the physical pleasure. And apparently, so I get the pleasure of being fucked by the bull, and the sex gets better between me and my partner, because now they're humiliated and trying to outfuck the bull. I guess that's a real sick, twisted way to get aroused, but hey, whatever you gotta do, I guess. So what little research is available on cuckolding shows that both partners report having hotter sex with each other. Also, cuckoldress report feeling more sexually satisfied. Well, of course, you've been fucked by two different people. And you're like, you're the prized possession. Cuckolding may also revitalize a relationship that's become a bit stale over time. Emotional intimacy, the consensus that the majority of the couples that partake in cuckolding tend to have excellent communication and intimacy. The willingness to share your deep desires encourages intimacy and brings you closer. That part I understand that, okay. Domination aspect. Though the rules aren't set in stone and couples can mix things up as they prefer, the cuckoldress typically takes on this sexually dominant role. They get to have sex with others while the cuck remains loyal and doesn't get squat unless their partner wants them to. The bull in the cucking scenario, as a bull, you're the third party that gets chosen to come into the relationship. The main draw here is getting to have no strings attached sex with someone who is eager and willing. For some, the dominance aspect is appealing and comes from stepping in and taking over the cuck's role in the bedroom. What counts as cucking? You don't actually need to go as far as watching your partner have sex with another person to enjoy the fun of cucking. Cucking can involve hearing your partner talk about sex with someone else, real or imagined. To get your feet wet, if you're not quite ready to go looking for a bull, you can get off on listening to your partner talk about sex with someone else. Have them tell you about other people they fantasize about, having sex with, or juicy details of past sexual encounters. If you want to take it a little further, if you really turned on about the idea of your partner hooking up with someone else, start off by watching from the distance as your partner flirts with someone at a bar. Too vanilla, suggest your partner get sensual massage for someone else while you watch to test the waters. If you think that you can handle more, send your partner out on a date where sex is on the menu and have them share all the details when they're done. If you want it all, along with watching your partner get busy with someone else, talk about the option of participating in the act. Your role can be as big or small as all parties are cool with, like directing the bull and telling them what to do to your partner or actually getting in there for a threesome. Is this the same thing as having a hot wife? No, though people often use the term hot wife and cuckoldress interchangeably. A hot wife scenario is more about sex rather than emotion, power, or control. Instead of humiliation, hot wifing seems to center on pride. The partner is proud of having a hot to trot partner and her sexual adventures and happy to share. See, I'm always learning something new each time I research a topic. I didn't know hot wife was even a term, and how delicate of a line is it that between hot wife and cuckolding? I mean, it's just pride is the difference, that thin line, that delicate line is pride. And it seems like intent as well. So if you're prideful and your intent is to parade your hot lover around, then it's not cuckolding. So what? Cuckolding is more about caring and sharing? Cuckolding is on some purple dinosaur Barney-ish? I don't know, man. It's hard for me to wrap my head around multiple partners at one time. But let's take a break and return with men describing what they love about cuckolding.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Sex Podcast. I'm your host, Gaelika Brown. I've been talking about cuckolding, but what if you want to get into it? How do you start? To help spur the conversation, you can ask, what is it about cuckolding that turns you on? Is this just a fantasy or something you really want to try? How far would you want to take this? How do you think this will benefit our relationship? Take time to decide how you feel. Cuckolding requires that you have all the information you need to take time to really consider how you feel. Let them know that you need time to talk about it. Start slow. If you decide that cuckolding is something you're interested in exploring, you don't need to jump into the bullpen right away. Start by watching cuckolding videos together or sharing a cuckolding fantasy. Before starting your search for your bull, you should probably sit down together and decide if one or both of you will choose the bull, how involved the cuck will get, pillow talk, after a rendezvous, to watch or to be part of the action. Next, it's time to figure out how do you like to go about the search. The internet is your best friend here. You can post an ad on FetLife. Try an app like Tinder. Or use a niche dating site like Adult Friend Finder or Local Cuckold. Oh, how convenient. There's a site for everything. Your profile or listing should be clear and concise so potential bulls know exactly what they're getting into. Make sure they're comfortable with the arrangement, all the way to how much the cuck will know or be a part of it. How do you practice cucking responsibly? Like with any other sex act, you need good communication, consent, and respect. Once you're both open to cuckolding, you need to set clear boundaries, first with each other and then with your bull. The same safety rules that apply on online dating or hookups apply here. Don't disclose personal information like your address or place of business. First meeting should always happen in a public place. Always have your own transportation to and from your meeting place. If going alone, makes your partner know where you'll be and when to expect you back. Always have condoms or other barrier methods on hand if sexual intercourse is a possibility. So a risk to consider, of course, STDs, emotional risk as well. Even if you're completely on board at the start, feelings can change at any time. One person may decide they want to stop. The cuck may begin to experience more jealousy than they bargained for, or one or both of the people hooking up could become too attached. Cuckolding requires complete honesty from everyone involved every step of the way. Communicate frequently to make sure you're all still on the same page. If anyone is uncomfortable or unsure, or if anything else, or if anything feels off, stop. So this sounds like a dangerous and slippery slope if you're trying to have a forever relationship with someone. Just like my episode where I posed the question, do non-monogamous relationships really work? My answer was, I need more people who have been doing the open or poly relationship for over 20 years to really tell. And there isn't much data on marriages who have participated in cuckolding for 20 plus years. Time will only tell the actual effect these situations have on forever relationships. But Metro UK asked 8 men to explain what they love about cuckolding. So here we have John, 45, who's a senior vice president in finance, lives in Paris. Like I said, this is UK, so they're all in the UK. He says, I love being in control of both a man. Let me go back. I love being in control of both a woman as a submissive and her man, especially when he is restrained. It helps men who feel inadequate with their partner, but it's not just about sexual ability. It can also be about their fear of losing their woman, penis size, or a lack of business success. Cuckolding varies dramatically, from sessions where the husband just watches to the extreme where I humiliate them with various demands. Simon, 29, an IT consultant in London, says, I've been into cuckolding for a while and do it with my girlfriend. What I like most is the feeling of helplessness. I guess that's the turn on, watching my girlfriend being taken by another man in front of me. I'm very dominant when we're alone, but when another man joins us, I'm the cuck. But I don't interact with a man. It's more about watching them. It's made us more passionate as a couple, although we have rules while we do it. Newbies who are starting out should take it slow and not dive in head first. Things can go awfully wrong if the couple aren't sure they would like it. Now, Harry, 55, a banker in London, says, I enjoy being the man invited to please a wife in front of her hubby. A few days ago, I visited a couple and was there for several hours. The husband was ordered to make us coffee and cheese toasties, but I also gave him sexual orders. This particular husband is bisexual and will watch, as well as give me oral sex. He especially likes the humiliation of seeing his wife enjoy sex with another man. Sometimes he'll also be allowed to have sex with her. William, 37, doesn't have any other info about him, says, it's been a 10-year process and I've never knew it would lead to this. Shortly before my wife and I got married, I admitted to being bisexual and a crossdresser. I've always been very feminine. We visited an adult bookstore together which had glory holes. She kept asking me to look into the hole and duck. Later, I watched her have sex with a random man's penis. Jerobi, 28, says the main reason I like cuckolding is because it's completely backwards and doesn't make any sense. I like the rejection and the humiliation. I'm normally dominant, but I can also be submissive. I perform tasks, but nothing beyond oral sex on either him or her. I'm 99% straight, but in the heat of the moment, I can give a guy a blowjob. Once you get the girl of your dreams, you're bored. The best way to keep it spicy is by letting her turn you down. And what better way for her to do it than to have sex with another man right in front of you? David says the biggest turn on is knowing my partner is getting pleasure from the activity, seeing the pleasure consume her mind and body, whether it's her having sex with another man or given oral sex by a woman. Sam, 31, a lawyer in Toronto, well, that's not the UK, says, I would assume what turns people on about cuckolding is different for each person. For me, it's fun watching my partner experience something new that she may have not tried before. There's been plenty of jealousy, though, especially when my girlfriend and I started out with cuckolding. I've been the dominant one, but I would much rather watch her tackle something outside of her realm. I love participating as much as being the voyeur. There have been occasions where I've sexually engaged with the other man, too. Elliot, 37, a media exec in London, says, I enjoy humiliating the man. I'll make the husband bring me beer, then I'll proceed to drink it with his wife sitting on my lap. Sex-wise, though, it's about satisfying the wife's needs for a proper man. Satisfying the wife's needs for a proper man. That's a diss. No cap. Hella dissing her, man. You ain't proper. I am. So, yeah, thanks for sharing, fellas. That's a lot to digest. The cuck POV versus the bull POV, and just the overall concept of cuckolding. I definitely learned a lot. Not something I can see myself getting into, but best of luck to you if you are curious. And if you are already getting your cuckolding on, more power to you. I definitely appreciate your time. Thank you for listening to the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Until next time, I'm Gaelika Brown.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From sex and relationships to health and wellness, life and happiness, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast.